Honorable Mayor, Council members, Mr. Martinez and staff. My name is John Yonai. I've had the opportunity to work for your city and your agency over the past 2 years on a number of projects, and this has been one of the more interesting and challenging ones as it faces your community. I think Dan has laid out and staff have laid out all the issues, and so I'm actually doing this a little bit in reverse. I'm going to give you some quick overviews of what's going on and comments, and then, as Dan said, open it up to your questions. From my perspective as one of the economists working for your city, I see that a strong downtown Redlands is a necessity for your community and how you approach it. So you spent the time on the village and the other items. The economic development and its success is a direct result of your continued planning, strategic planning, and adjustments to the market. And this is what staff is doing now, trying to address the issues relative to general growth and its issues and the vacancies in the retail market. Obviously, we're seeing on a national level, we're seeing concerns to the local Redlands market with the bankruptcies of Gottschalks and others. So we're seeing the global, the national, right down to the regional and local communities where we're being impacted, loss of jobs, loss of sales, and housing issues. There's been a glimmer of hopes over the last 2 months, 3 months, where many economists on the national level have thought, well, maybe there's a glimmer of hope here. And we're hoping that, or they were hoping that there would be a reduction in the downturn by the third, fourth quarter of 2009. And when they say that, as you look at what they're reading and saying, or printing and saying, it's that they're hoping that the slide and the decline in the economy slows down or flattens out, with hope that projections for a better economy is going to take place in third and fourth quarter 10, maybe first quarter 11. Now, as we look at the general growth situation, they've encountered the same issues that many of us homeowners or many of the local constituents have, in that their asset base has fallen really below the values of its loans. In December of 2008, general growth was valued at someplace in the neighborhood of $29.2 billion, had loans of about $27 billion. Now, that was in December of 2008. Now that we've seen a decline in increased vacancy rates and other issues that they've encountered, they're very well probably in a situation, given the conditions of their loans, where their value in terms of total assets is below the loan values of their properties. Hence the bankruptcy filing for Chapter 11. They're facing some large mortgage renewals in 2009, 10, and 11. So this decreased asset value has been almost impossible for them to go ahead and refinance their loans. So they're having some problems there. Again, they've been in a position where they have overfinanced, and because of this overfinance to value ratio, loan to value ratio, more than likely, though we can't predict what's going to happen with the conservatorship or the courts in their bankruptcy filing, I would think that there would be some determination that some of these assets will be sold off. And that's why staff and Dan has pushed us in specifically to take a look at these opportunities and try to figure out a time frame as to when these properties might become available and how you might be able to approach them for the community as a whole. At the end of the day, I think both the mall and the future development sites are key to the economic success of your downtown Redlands area. And I know one of your previous economists, John Husing, had pointed out that for the success of Redlands, you need to increase your development strategy that seeks to increase property values and incomes for the city's families, and also increase city revenues. And so that would be a strategy that you would need to follow and continue with some opportunities that arise out of the general growth properties. If you have any questions, I'm available, and just want to make my statements very brief.
Thank you. Are there questions or comments at this time?
Just to come, and we've hashed these all over the place in terms of where we can go and what we can do. But right now, as long as it's in the bankruptcy court protection, it doesn't seem like we can even be negotiating with them, because all of that would take approval. But I know we're continuing to have discussions with them. Are they any closer to having a realization of the actual reduction in value?
I'm not sure I understand a reduction. I understand. I do understand the question. Yeah. Are they understanding how the numbers really work? I would say yes. Yes. When we originally, when I approached them last fall to say, hey, if you had any idea about selling this, what would you sell it at? They said 18 million. And that was based on the 14.25 that they have in it now. And they wanted to add another 3.5 million for the planning costs they had gone through in creating that vision with you. And I said, if those are the kind of numbers you're talking about, I said, thank you very much. That's helpful because we don't need to spend any more time talking because they're totally unrealistic. Because we knew at that time, private parties were approaching them with numbers in mind at about half that cost. And at one point, they were internally talking about the tactic of having a third-party appraisal done so that the folks we were talking to wouldn't have to deliver the bad news to the folks upstairs. Hey, this thing has really dropped in value. In terms of what number today they think is realistic, I couldn't tell you.
Okay.
And again, part of the reason that we've done these briefings is if something were to break quickly, conceivably through this trustees committee, we would just want you to be in a position to be comfortable with the terrain here to give us some direction if that was needed.
Mayor and council members, Mayor Pro Tem Gilbreth, the other reason we wanted to have this in public is for your constituents to know that you as a council are on top of this issue and that you're being briefed as frequently as we have new information. So while you're not learning new things, and I appreciate your patience as you went through listening through all this, but we wanted to make sure that the public knew that you were being briefed and you were abreast of this.
I get my, I think a key for us in terms of direction, and I can't speak for my colleagues, they'll need to express their own view on this, but I do think it's critical we stick to the idea of an urban village that you've described, whether it's the existing surrounding Victorian neighborhoods and cultural amenities, or I believe we need to stick to move forward with the ideas of mixed use, whether it's at this site as well as potentially other sites in town. And I think we need to go to that direction because I do believe we need to increase ultimately the residential population in our downtown areas so that they are closer to the transit as it arrives, so they are closer to the shopping and restaurants that we want to put there. As travel patterns and other patterns change, it's going to serve the city well to have the opportunity for housing in these mixed-use situations down there. So for me, the vision is what's contained in the specific plan. Well, that's certainly the plan you showed from General Growth is the idea they had. I guess I would say whether it's working with General Growth, working with someone else that buys it, or someone that we bring in to buy it, my feeling is we'd want to make sure it's committed to that vision at some point in time, and that's, as you're saying, the economic conditions are going to affect when that time materializes. To the extent we can encourage it to happen sooner rather than later, I would like to see that. But again, that's direction I would give. In my mind, that I would suggest too that while you have this sale to a private party under laissez-faire, public-private partnership in which you describe a silent partner, there may be a mixture of those in which we as the city are a little more assertive in terms of bringing in a buyer with whom we believe we can work and with whom we believe General Growth would be interested, that we could actually bring about the vision that we have in mind rather than a silent partner who wouldn't be shaping the redevelopment of that site, as I understood your description, but rather one that we would proactively seek out that is intent on reshaping it in accordance with the city vision. So to me, that's a hybrid of those two, if you will, as I understood your description anyway.